Om Shanti. Welcome everyone. So we'll start with a short passage of godly spiritual versions. Today, the Father, the Supreme Father, the Comforter of hearts, have come to exchange his loving and cooperative children who are sitting on his heart throne. What is in the Father's heart and what is in the hearts of the children? Today, Baba, the Father, has come to find out what is in each one's heart. Baba has especially come to have an exchange of the heart with his spiritual children who are the residents of this spiritual faraway land. You always listen to the Mulli, to the godly versions. But today, God, Baba, has come to have an heart-to-heart conversation and see whether all the children are easily moving and moving forward naturally. You don't find anything difficult, or do you become tired moving along? Do you? You don't become tired, do you? You don't become confused over trivial things, do you? It is when you disobey any spiritual godly discipline or direction of Srimad in your thoughts, words, or deeds that you then become confused. Otherwise, there is no difficulty in moving along, in a lot of happiness, in rest and comfort with the spiritual Father, God. There is no tiredness then. There is no confusion there. Any types of weakness makes something easy difficult. So, in our spiritual study, in our spiritual journey, in our spiritual path, what here is being mentioned is we are aiming to have a very nice, easy, peaceful life. But there is one thing that comes in between, and that is our carelessness, that is our laziness. And it starts with our intellectual laziness, lack of clarity, lack of understanding, due to which we cross the line of our internal discipline. In Hindi, there's a very nice word, very divine word, and that word is called Maryada. It's that spiritual line that we shouldn't cross. And the first spiritual line that we actually cross is the awareness, our positioning. To begin with, that we are guests on this whole physical world. We are here to engage ourselves, but we don't have any attachment to anything or anybody, because we truly are guests. Just this positioning makes it very simple and very clear how we are to engage with everything here on this physical world, on this physical dimension. At a spiritual level, our home, our reality, that is where our true possession is. That is where our true life exists. And we are just here as a guest to enjoy. In no way are we saying we complete isolated from this world. Guests don't become isolated. Guests are fully involved, actively participating, yet they have zero, and this is a very clear positioning. They have a zero sense of attachment, zero sense of identity, zero sense of ownership. They know 100% that they can't take anything with them, neither they can do anything here substantially, neither they take anything or they give anything. They're just here to enjoy, they're just here to share the space and the company. That's about it. And this level of maryada which we are aiming to have at a spiritual level, at our level of the intellect, it's very important to understand. It needs to be to bring that awareness, to bring that clarity, or to maintain and sustain that. Right now we have to understand where we are currently, because currently deep inside, like in this version that was mentioned, any type of weakness makes something easy difficult. We need to understand, ask our heart, like here this heart to heart conversation we are having with God or with ourselves. We need to ask ourselves, what really are our weaknesses in this physical world? Do I have any sense of weakness with maybe some coffee, tea, small things? Just daily routine. Where are we dependent upon? Where is our comfort zone? Where is our weakness lying? And those weakness are an indication. At those places, definitely we are not in the consciousness of a guest. We are not in the consciousness of our freedom, of our full power, of having an easy and an enjoyable life. It's a life of slavery. It's a life of dependency. It's a life where there's just a small kick of excitement, and then there is a lull, a sense of dullness, a sense of lacking, a sense of boredom, a sense of wanting. That's all then accompanies with that sense of little bit of excitement, just like a drug. I mean, we are very clear how drugs act. In the same way, these are everything on this physical world are like mini drugs. So we need to understand where our small weaknesses are, and in order to overcome those weaknesses, there are multiple ways of thinking that come from the different kinds of people, but we need to really understand what is the most accurate way, what is the most best way. Some say that if you have a weakness, you should face it, you should observe it, let it come, face it, and then you will overcome it. Sounds interesting, sounds fine, but we need to truly be practical and understand. And I'll give you a small example. In fact, a couple of examples. When a person is diabetic, what does the doctor say to that diabetic person? Sugar or having sweet is not bad, but if someone is too attached to sugar, someone is too attached to the sweet, that is where the problem lies. We are guests, we can enjoy everything, but when we get attached, that is where things start to become an issue. And in the similar way, taking in that analogy, if something becomes, sugar is not an issue, but the fact that we are so attached to the sugar, we are not aware of our true reality. It creates that weakness, and that is what manifests in the bodily form also, in the form of diabetic weakness in the body. What would the doctor say? Would the doctor say, face it, observe it, try eating it more? Or would the doctor say, completely remove it? Don't even think of sugar. Don't even have that sugar syrup in your house or those sugar granules in your house. What would he say? He's not saying to face it, because he knows that we have that tendency, we have that deep innate habit, nature, or sanskar, that's unnatural, that has been created over a long period of time. And to remove that, we need to have that sense of a clear line of being completely having an abstinence to that thing. There's a beautiful saying, complete abstinence is easier than perfect moderation. And especially when we have some weaknesses inside ourselves, that's the easiest way. Else there'll be confusion, trying to get that perfect moderation, etc. The easiest way is, for some time, just become completely free from it. Just completely remove that. And then one will realize you are completely free, you are completely beyond it. Another way of seeing it is, imagine there's a weak child, he's going to a school, and in that school, he meets a very big bully. He has to go there every day. And this big bully is very strong, much more stronger than this weak child. He's puny, he's thin, he's skinny, and he knows he can't face him, this big little bully monster. What would he do during every day he has to go to the school? What will he do? The most intelligent or the wise thing is, he knows he can't completely isolate, but one thing he will do is, first of all, try to avoid interaction as much as possible. Best way, maybe he will go to a different class so that as much as possible he can avoid, but he will ensure that he will also know that he may have to face him one day. So just avoiding won't help. Another thing what he'll do is, he knows one day or the other he may have to face him. No matter how much he avoids, maybe for a year or two, he will get into the same class, same section, and then he will have to face him face to face, maybe sit with the same bench with him. And that's how, in reality, we have to face our weaknesses. But before all of that, he will avoid and he will prepare himself. He'll not just avoid, but he will take training from the master of, say, maybe karate or exercise, bodybuild, and eat nutritious food and do everything basically to make himself strong. And then he'll be in a position to face that big bully, that big monster. Even in wars, it's very tactical. Just think it like a war. It's very tactical. If the enemy is weak, it retreats partially for some time, it withdraws, it stocks up its supplies, it rejuvenates itself, and then attacks back again. It's not losing, but it's being practical and it's being intelligent. And this is where we also need to become practical and intelligent. And this is how God's knowledge is also so practical, so relevant, very strategic in nature. And this is how we need to also tackle this big bully, this big monster which is inside us. I'm just giving these physical examples, but the real war is, or the real tug of war is inside us, inside our minds, with this inner monster of our inner weaknesses, our inner vices, You can call it Satan, you can call it Ravan. These are different words in different cultures. The same word for Satan in Hindi culture is Shaitan. So this is the real Satan, which is there. And in order to get victory over this, we need to have that sense of that line of Maryada, that line, in order to maintain that line of Maryada, that line of discipline, that first line internally, that we are guests, we need to also ensure at a physical level some boundaries that we don't cross. And that is in depending on each one's situations, each one's weaknesses, one has to see. Like, just taking an example, if someone has a weakness of sugar, keep sugar out completely. If someone has a weakness related to some attachment with someone, in facing someone, avoid those kinds of interactions as less as possible. Just have functional interaction. Don't run away. In no sense does the spiritual knowledge tells to run away, but it tells you to be very practical in way of dealing and facing things. And during that time, not to waste it. Just because you are away from it doesn't mean you are powerful. You need to train yourself. Just being away is just one part of this thing, but the second part is also having the discipline to strengthen that our angelic muscle, our divine muscle inside, the muscles of our powers, the muscles of our virtues. If we become more powerful in that, then when we face it, we'll be able to overcome it. Else, what happens? If we don't do that, maybe we are fine for some time whenever we don't face it. But as soon as it comes, our weakness hasn't gone away. It has just remained dormant. And during that time, we didn't strengthen our angelic muscle. Just like that weak child, he may have been away from that bully for a long time, but if he didn't train himself, whenever he faces him again, he will be lost. So not to get into that sleep of laziness and that carelessness. This is what happens with many people, that they think that, oh, they are fine because they haven't faced that situation for a long time. They have some attachment with someone. They leave that person for a year or two because of some situation. They have to go somewhere, say to work, or say somewhere to study, or whatever. They leave their families, and they feel after 2 years they have overcome their attachment. But as soon as they come back, they realize again that, oh, my attachment is still there. Just that because during those couple of years a person hasn't worked on himself spiritually. It's just a sense of false lullaby that one has fallen into, thinking that you have been away. It's good that you have been away. You have been able to give yourself rest, but you also need to train yourself. And training is through our internal mind, flexing our intellect, understanding that we are guests on this planet, to meditate clearly, to see that perfect soul that is free from this complete physical world. This soul in itself is completely full, completely powerful, completely secure. It doesn't require any kind of external experience or external simulation or stimulation to feel internally fulfilled. It is internally fulfilled by itself, because it internally has that capacity of producing that internal production of love, happiness, peace. Just like our physical body internally produces energy, just like you are walking, you produce energy and you can walk for 5 minutes. But the day you stop walking, say for 5 kilometers daily you have been walking, and you start using the car, the body stops to produce that energy, and it then becomes dependent on the external, say, car, and that car is giving that energy. So the memory of how to produce that energy inside the body is lost, and then it becomes weak. The same thing has happened with all of us. We have lost that memory. We need to get it back, and we can experience our super sensuous joy, our eternal happiness, our eternal love, unconditional bliss, unconditional peace, unconditional happiness, unconditional compassion exists inside all of us. And we just need to re-experience that. So the first step to experiencing this spiritual happiness, spiritual intoxication, is to be within that line of spiritual clarity, to be within that line of spiritual discipline, of that maryada internally. And in order to maintain that even at external level, it's very important. Otherwise it will pull you. That external stimuli will pull your intellect. Thank you. Om Shanti.
But